Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khaliba. Today is Friday, the 9th of July, 2021. These are the stories that we will be talking about during the course of the show. We will begin with Joe Biden, that has defended his decision to pull the US troops out of Afghanistan. He said two very important things. He said the Afghan people must decide their own future rather than sacrificing another generation of Americans in an unwinnable war. He also said that the Afghan military has the ability to repel the Taliban, whose advances in recent weeks, of course, have raised fears that the country is slowly sliding into civil war. These are very important comments by Joe Biden, who talked in detail after a very long time about the Afghan situation. This is going to be our leading story of the day. Our second story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Indian involvement of terrorism in Pakistan. We know that the Foreign Office already said that, and also our ministers have said that in a media brief, that it is in fact India and the RAW that is involved in what happened in the Johor town blast in Lahore. And this is not the only incident in which India is involved. Now, Islamabad has also asked India to dismantle what it calls terror infrastructure, and has also rejected New Delhi's denial of RAW's involvement in last month's terrorist attack in Lahore. This is going to be our second story of the day. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be about how the government is also focusing on the transgender community in Pakistan. Now, Multan has opened its first public school for the transgender people in Gulgasht area. Classes will be held from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and it was inaugurated by the Punjab government and is located in the Government Girls Comprehensive Higher Secondary School. And it was established, of course, under a certain program which is known as Trans Education. Then we will be talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the 54th anniversary of the passing away of the mother of the nation, Māder-e Millat, Muhtarama Fatima Jinnah. We will honor her life, her legacy, of course, and her passionate support of civil rights and her devoted struggle for the Pakistan movement. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about COVID-19. Our Prime Minister has talked about it while addressing the media and Pakistan, and of late Asad Umar Saab today also in a tweet addressed the same thing. He talked about the fourth wave of COVID-19 that is slowly and steadily being imposed, coming on over to Pakistan. It was pertinent in this condition that the people of Pakistan follow the SOPs, wear the masks, and of course get themselves vaccinated at the earliest. Let's begin with our first segment, and of course that concerns the Afghan situation and what is happening in Afghanistan post the withdrawal of the US forces. Joe Biden for the first time talked extensively about the withdrawal of US forces and the implication. More in the following report.
As United States troops hastily quit their crucial military bases in Afghanistan, the domestic security situation of the country dramatically deteriorated. Protracted battles between Taliban fighters, local militias and Afghan government forces cast gloomy shadow over the future of Afghanistan. Washington's decision to withdraw all its troops from Afghanistan by September 11th created dangerous implications for the region. Meanwhile, American President Joe Biden on Thursday, speaking in the White House, urged Afghan people to decide their own future. The war-ravaged country is sliding into another civil war, but US President asserted that sacrificing another generation of Americans in an unwinnable war is futile. Biden's assertions surfaced against the backdrop of criticism for pulling out troops from Afghanistan. The long-term skeptic of American military engagement elucidated that the United States had long ago achieved its original rationale for invading the country in 2001 and that it's the responsibility of the Afghan people alone to decide their future. Addressing at the United States Institute of Peace on Wednesday, Pakistan's Ambassador Asad Majid Khan also reminded the US that this may not be a winnable war, but peace is winnable. The Pakistani envoy acknowledged that the US decision to set a deadline for the pullout had created problems for Pakistan and others involved in the peace process. All stakeholders need to play a constructive role in helping to bring about a just and durable political settlement as well as the comprehensive ceasefire. An inclusive political settlement in Afghanistan would best serve the shared security interests of both the US and Pakistan.
Now, to talk more about the latest situation that is emanating in Afghanistan post the majority of the withdrawal of the Afghan forces as we speak, and what's going to happen, will there be a civil war or will there not be a civil war? Will, as Joe Biden says, the Afghan people will decide ultimately their own future, and will the Afghan army manage to repel the Afghan Taliban? Hassan Khan, analyst on Afghan affairs, joins us. Hassan Khan Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Hassan Khan Saab, what do you make of the current situation in Afghanistan in the context of these two very important points that Joe Biden has said, and I quote, concerning the Afghan people that need to decide their own future? A, I'd like to ask your comment on that, and B, about the Afghan military. Does it have the capability to repel the Afghan Taliban?
Thank you very much. I think what President Biden has said, he has already said it when President Ghani and Dr. Abdullah were in Washington. And definitely, if you then look at the body language of President Biden, he was not that much interested in meeting the ones, the closest ally of the Americans, and where more than 100,000 American troops were stationed there. And he then told President Ghani, because in the meeting, reports say that President Ghani asked for extending the withdrawal or delaying the withdrawal for some time so that the Afghan security forces stabilize the situation, and the withdrawal must be orderly, not leaving Afghan in a way which the US was doing. But even then, President Biden told him that now managing Afghanistan is the responsibility of Afghan. And you know, when Dr. Abdullah went back to Kabul, he gave a statement in that context, and it was quite clear that Americans were in a hurry, and they were trying to shift or to withdraw all their forces within July. So I think it was quite obvious, and now President Biden yesterday he made it quite clear that American forces, Americans were not in Afghanistan to build a nation. It is quite interesting. They were there to stop terrorist attack against US as happened in 9/11 in 2001. So I think Americans, they suffered. I think they were facing fatigue. They were not able to continue the war for any more time, as President Biden said that the casualties were unbearable. The US was the prolonging the war more was not in the interest of the US, and so we are not there to build the nation. Now it is for the Afghan. So I think this is a big realization for Afghan, and no doubt if we try to
I mean, I'd like to
criticize
take
Mr.
you on this comment. I'd like to take you on this comment, Hassan Khan Saab, when Joe Biden says that we were not here to build the nations. I mean, this is, of course, we did not go to Afghanistan to nation build, and it is the right and responsibility of the Afghan people alone to decide their future and how they want to run their country. Too many expectations from the US by the Afghan government?
Look, I think definitely Afghans were not only the government, even the people of Afghanistan. They were expecting too much from the Americans, and I think one thing was quite obvious when Americans were leaving Afghanistan just by having by signing an agreement with Taliban that they will not allow and not allow the terrorists to attack the US or any other country. So I think why the Americans were here for almost 20 years, why they spent trillions of dollars and lost thousands of lives for just to have this agreement, to have signed on this agreement. I think if this was the objective of the US government to be in Afghanistan, I think definitely they would have done it in 2001 or
Exactly.
2002
They spent
when
around
they
20
came to
years, Hassan
Afghanistan.
Khan Saab, they spent around 20 years in Afghanistan. If it was to leave in such a manner, saying that it was the ultimate decision was by the Afghans to decide by themselves what they want to do with their country, they should have done it 19 years back. Why wait so long?
That's what I am saying. But the fact is that American have failed to stabilize the country. American have failed because they opted in 2003 for when Taliban were when they were running away in the street, when Taliban were nowhere in Afghanistan. I think gradually Taliban, Taliban, they were requesting the Americans then when once the man Awais Ghani, who was the governor of Balochistan, he told me once that the Taliban then were ready to accept few positions of governors and ministers if they were accommodated. But the US said, no, we will hold them out. These were their words, that we will not leave them to stay inside Afghanistan. And they will be taken out from their houses and from their homes. So I think Americans have opted a war with Taliban. Al Qaeda was no doubt the Taliban then tried to assure them that they can manage the Al Qaeda. They will trial them even inside Afghanistan. But they were having this what we call it the hurt ego of the American, especially of the downing of the Empire State Building in New York. So now they are trying just to have this cover that they are no more, because after 20 years, after 19 years, it dawned upon the U.S. administration that they are not in Afghanistan to build the nation, but just to have a signatures on a white paper from Taliban to assure them that they will not let anybody attack the U.S. So one thing is quite clear, but we have to uh, also see the way the Afghan behaved during the last 20 years. Afghans also, they also didn't take interest in building in building their country, because corruption, malgovernance,
But you know, Hassan
I
Khan
think.
Saab, now that the US leaves Afghanistan and the Afghan people in the state that the country is in right now, what does this bode for the future of Afghanistan? I mean, Joe Biden says the Afghan government should seek a deal with the Taliban. We know they have been trying to seek peace talks between the two parties. Nothing has really come out of it. Now that the US is going to leave, and of course the date has been prolonged a little bit, they will be leaving finally by the 31st of August. What happens post 31st of August, Hassan Khan Saab? What is your
I think
expectation?
what the situation is emerging. I think this is it's quite obvious that the state of affairs in Afghanistan are not going to be good. Already, Taliban are knocking at each and every province in Afghanistan. They are taking district after district. No doubt, they are not hitting the provincial centers or the country capital, Kabul. But definitely, the way they are advancing, they are taking the strategic arteries. They are trying to get especially the entries and exit to Afghanistan, like you see in Balk, like you see in with Islam Kala in with Iran, Sher Khan Bandar in with Tajikistan. So definitely, one fine morning they will come and take over the Torkham or the Chaman border also. The way they are advancing. So I think. But there is one positive things which for the last 2 days I'm observing. One, that the involvement of Iran, which they called both the parties, the Taliban and the Afghan government, and interlocutors to Tehran, and Jawad Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran, he was in the center and he was trying to negotiate. And the Taliban delegation is in Moscow. So there is a lot of regional efforts are going on. Pakistan
I
is
mean, that's very
involved, China,
interesting. That's
Russia,
very
Iran.
interesting, Hassan Khan Saab, that you point out the meeting of the Afghan Taliban in Iran and in Moscow, because there are also rumors that there was an Indian personality that was also rumored to be present at the same time. Whether that personality took part in those meetings or not, we do not know. But this is what the reports point out to. What is the role of
Yeah, I
India?
think I also heard that Indian foreign minister was also there when the Afghan parties were in Tehran. No, there are no reports that he participated in the talks, but there were reports that talk about the Afghan situation. So I think there were reports that Prime Minister Modi and his sent his minister to Tehran. Maybe the cover was that he was trying to felicitate the new president in Afghanistan. But I think India is also getting engaged. Already there were reports that Taliban and India have a meeting. Taliban have now, I think most of the capitals are open for Taliban now. This is no more only Pakistan-centric things. Now, they are in Moscow, they are in Qatar. Definitely, they go to Beijing, they go to Tehran, they go to Ankara, Turkey, etc. They are visiting the Central Asian countries. So, no, this is no more a secret. Taliban are trying now to sell they will not be what they were in 1996 or 1994 when they started taking over Afghanistan. But let me make it quite clear that the situation in Afghanistan, it is quite disturbed. The people are quite worried. The regional countries are quite worried. But I think the major problem will be faced by Pakistan, because Pakistan has to face a major challenge. God forbid if a civil war erupt in Afghanistan. Definitely the Ghani government will try not to allow Taliban to take more areas, and Taliban will try to take as much area in their control as possible. So I think definitely, from places like Kunduz, like Tahar, like Badakhshan, etc., there are reports that a lot of people have been displaced, though the Western media is reporting that Taliban are forcibly displacing people from their home, but that's not confirmed. But definitely once the Taliban onslaught started in, especially in the south, in the eastern and the east, north, etc. These are the areas which are close to Pakistan border. So
How
definitely, I
sure is
think
the
Pakistan
possibility
has to
of a
protect.
civil war in Afghanistan, Hassan Khan Saab? What is your point of view on that? How much percent are you expecting a civil war to erupt in Afghanistan?
I think definitely, if you look at the ground situation, it is quite obvious that the war is imminent. Definitely this internecine war is quite imminent. The local militia people are the government is arming the local militia. The former Taliban commanders of the warlords, they are organizing their own militias from in every part of Afghanistan. So definitely they will come that when Taliban enter the main population center, so they will face resistance. So definitely, Afghanistan is going. I think I am unfortunately I have this what would you call it, that Afghanistan is
Premonition.
on the way. Falling into the civil war
All
or
right.
the internecine
All right.
war
Hassan,
are
Hassan
quite
Khan
imminent.
Saab, Hassan Khan Saab, final question. Now that the US is more or less about to completely exit Afghanistan, what is going to be the great regional game? Turkey is interested, so is China, so is Russia, so are the Central Asian republics, so is India, so is Pakistan. Uh, whose role is going to be
I
more
think that
important?
I think we have to. One thing is quite now, the analysts are talking that a disturbed Afghanistan is now in the interest of the US. Definitely, you know that US is shifting its focus now toward China. They have already have this quad four nation like the Indian, Australian, Japanese, and the US. They have this organization already, which is quite China specific. So definitely, if the US and these power, the Europe is interested in sandwiching the Chinese from the north and the south. So, Afghanistan has a border via Wuhan with China. So, if this is Afghanistan is disturbed, and the Western powers and the Americans are focusing on the issues in Xinjiang, where the Muslim majority province, they are already focusing and propagating. Is a lot of propaganda against the Chinese policies in Xinjiang. So definitely, it will be quite easy for the US to kill two birds with one shot. Like they can teach a lesson to Pakistan, because the Pakistani terrorists, the TTP, they will have a field day in Afghanistan. They will have like a walking in the park in Afghanistan, enjoying their life. Definitely, if Afghanistan is disturbed, so they can easily export this extremism and terrorism to Chinese via Wuhan. If this region is disturbed, the US and the Europe has, after G7 summit, the total focus is shifted towards China. So they are now
Of
trying
course.
to
So
squeeze
let's see,
China.
Hassan
They are
Khan Sahab, what happens in the coming months. Of course, post 31st of August, what happens? How much is this civil war looming in Afghanistan? What are going to be the implications? Which will be the regional players that will be the most active post the 31st of August? And of course, there are a lot of regional players that are active as we speak. Thank you very much, Hassan Khan Sahab, to have joined us and to have talked to us about the future of Afghanistan. Of course, quoting what Joe Biden had to say about the US pullout from the country. Let's go to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns the Indian involvement of terrorism in Pakistan. Nothing new there. We have given dossiers across the world to the United Nations. We have talked about this in different fora, whether it be the United Nations, whether it be at different international fora. We have highlighted how India is trying to destabilize Pakistan. We have an Indian spy, Kulbhushan Yadav, as we speak, who is under custody. And of course, seeing all of this state, we also know that what happened in Johor town in Lahore last month was a direct implication of RAW, and of course in association with other agencies. Now, when Pakistan implicates RAW in India, and India of course denies, but Pakistan again says that India needs to dismantle what it calls terror infrastructure against Pakistan. To talk more about that, we've been joined by Brigadier Retired Ihsan Ali Shah Sahab. He's a senior analyst. Brigadier Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Brigadier Sahab, that was of course expected, that India is not going to accept what has happened in Lahore, and that of course the RAW was behind it. Now what? Now do you feel, whether it accepts it or not, will there be a change in the Indian policy towards Pakistan?
Thank you very much for inviting me in this program. As you know, that the Indian record is evident and it is entirely known to the world, but world is closing their eyes. There is another case. We have seen that India is involved in terrorism inside Pakistan through a proxy, and they were using all these years when Afghanistan was disturbed. They had conflict in Iraq, they had conflict in Badakhshan, they had conflict in Kandahar. All these conflicts were playing against Pakistan, and they were funding the anti-Pakistani element in Balochistan, and they were funding the Taliban, Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan, which they have accepted. And they were destabilizing Pakistan inside, and they were involved in bomb blasting. And as you have mentioned, Jadev is a clear indication he is in the hands of Pakistan, and we have provided dossier to the world that these are the proofs where India is clearly involved. And the recent involvement we have shown to the world in Georgetown, Lahore. Now, Pakistan is trying its utmost to bring peace and help peace in Afghanistan and the region. That it is not in the interest of India that peace should come to Afghanistan, because peace in Afghanistan means peace inside Pakistan. So that is where the India and Pakistan are in conflict.
All right. But Brigadier Sahib, seeing all of the situation, seeing India's involvement, seeing also that the major players across the world understand that India is behind it, because I mean it's an open secret, let's put it that way, how India is trying to destabilize, dismantle Pakistan directly or indirectly. Now in this whole scenario, how do you feel Pakistan needs to move forward? Because of course we have had the statements by the Foreign Office, we have had the dossiers. What now should Pakistan do?
Pakistan should continue its effort to expose India's involvement. Pakistan should send their delegates through various capitals, or the capitals which matter in the world. The European capitals, America, India, the P5 countries, all these countries should be taken in the confidence and shown that India is doing all this in Pakistan. When India is doing all this in Pakistan, the region is in danger. I think some of the countries like the superpower, they have strategic alliance with India with regards to China, because they want to contain China in this region. And China is investing a lot in Pakistan and in this region through CPEC also. And India, along with America, they are trying their utmost that Pakistan should withdraw from this pact and from this project. But our Prime Minister, our government, and our nation has shown the resolve that we will never do that.
All right.
And
Brigadier Sahib, you talked about the China-Pakistan economic corridor. You talked about Balochistan. I'll quote Fawad Chaudhry Sahib, who said that India's terrorist network in Balochistan has been significantly weakened. We know also that Kulbhushan Yadav was arrested from the same region. And of course, he disclosed many a thing about the way India was trying to destabilize Pakistan, Balochistan, the CPEC, and other parts of Pakistan. And of course, put all the blame game, trying to do incidents and then put the blame on Pakistan directly or indirectly. And of course, then we also know how it is trying to perpetrate terrorism indirectly through Afghanistan. In all of this scenario, sir, how important also should be the role of regional players? I quote Russia, that is still in good terms with India, and I also would like to talk about China and its role.
You have brought a very pertinent point, because Russia has developed its ties with Taliban, and they were already in consultation with the Northern Alliance, because they were helping Northern Alliance against Taliban. But now Taliban has also been taken into confidence by the Russian people, the Russian government. And similarly, India is also trying. They had a stopover their external affair in Doha, Qatar, and it is not without the consent of America and all these players. Turkey is also involved, because they have been given shelter to Rashid Dostum, and Rashid Dostum has been a big player in the stability of Afghanistan and the region. And similarly, Iran is also, because Ismail Khan in Iraq is one of their key players. So, and China, because of Uyghur and because of huge investment inside Afghanistan, is also a big player. And Pakistan, because Pakistan has suffered a lot. Pakistan is the next door neighbor of Afghanistan. So if all these players sit together, put their hands together, and they sit and decide in the interest of the region. All these players need to understand that peace in Afghanistan is not only important for Pakistan, it is important for the whole region, and when the whole region for the whole world. So all these players, they have their lords, inside warlords inside Afghanistan, they have their power, their influence. So all
Of
of
course.
them have to sit
Let's
together.
come back to India, Brigadier Saab. Let's talk about the a part of the statement by Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry Saab, who is the spokesperson of the Foreign Office of Pakistan. He says that it is the collective responsibility of the world community to hold India to account and take practical steps to proceed against Indian nationals involved in the patronage of terrorism against Pakistan. Will that happen?
I think the world has their own interest because relations are based on interest, and America has strategic interests inside India because they are projecting India against China. Until that is there, that is the reality on the ground. I do not think that America and all those people who are interested inside India because of economic interest, they will take action against India. They will do their lip services. They will show the world that they are against terrorism. But so far, India and Israel are concerned. You know that they have their power of influence, their sphere of influence inside America and European lobby, and they will not do it. Number one. Number two, that India, it is very clear that they are involved in massive terrorism against Pakistan inside Kashmir, along the border in Kashmir, inside Balochistan, along the border in Afghanistan. And Yadev was doing this from Iran, the leave beside Afghanistan and Kashmir. They had extended their tentacles even to Iran and Dubai, Abu Dhabi. These places are there where India has extended their networks, and they are involved in terrorism against Pakistan through proxies, through their agents, and RA is funding all these agents in the destabilization of Pakistan.
All right, Brigadier Saab, thank you very much for your point of view. Brigadier Ihsan Alisha Saab, senior analyst, talking to us about the nexus of Indian terrorism and how India is trying to destabilize Pakistan. And of course, in the latest spate, we know that RAW is behind what happened in Johor town last month. And despite Pakistan saying that it is, India has denied, of course, its role. And of course, that was expected. What will happen in the future? Let's see how the regional players also move forward as far as Pakistan's allegations and of course the Indian designs against Pakistan are concerned. Let's go to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen. That concerns the rights of the transgender community. The current government has been endeavoring to give the transgender community its due rights, whether it be through the national identity cards, whether it be through opening different educational institutions. In Punjab, the latest of which is what has opened in Multan, the school for the transgender community. More in the following report.
Transgender, also known as Khwaja Sira in Pakistan, have always faced systematic injustice along with social prejudice and discrimination by society. Pakistan's hitherto marginalized transgender community is all set for reclaiming their fundamental rights. The opening of the first ever transgender school in Pakistan, in the city of Multan, signifies a greater recognition of transgender rights in Pakistan. The Punjab Education Minister Murad Ras vowed that schools for the transgender community will be opened in all districts of Punjab. It must be noted here that the provision of separate schools for transgender community is in line with government's vision of provision of education for all. This commendable decision was lauded by public and celebrities, and further protection of vulnerable community was urged. Pakistan officially recognized a third gender in 2009. Furthermore, the country has nonetheless introduced laws that are at global forefront of trans rights. Laws are liberalized till further in March 2018 with a wide-ranging piece of legislation that grants unique trans men and women the option to self-identify their gender on the official forms. Person born male can now hold a female passport. Pakistan's constitution forbids discrimination against trans people. It maintains vocational training and enshrines the right to run for political office. The community should be treated equally, and there must not be any gender discrimination. Every individual, regardless of gender, should be given equal rights and be considered ordinary citizen.
Now, since 2018, when the Senate unanimously passed a bill for giving the rights to the transgender community, and of course, since then, there have been a lot of measures, the latest of which is this opening of the educational institution in Multan. To talk more about that, we've been joined by Nayyab Ali, who's a transgender activist. Nayyab, thank you very much to have joined us. And of course, how do you see these different measures that are, giving rights to the transgender community, whether it be through giving them their right through identity cards, or of course the latest being specialized education institutions that are designed for the transgender people? How important is it for the transgender community in Pakistan?
Thank you very much, Umar, for talking about this very important issue. And we are very blessed for living in Pakistan. Like, our government of Pakistan is very much eager to provide rights to transgender community, and they are taking such initiatives to ensure inclusion and mainstreaming of our transgender community. And the educational initiative is one of them, because this is the basic issue that we faced in getting our employment or equal opportunities and resources, because the transgender children, they are abandoned by their family in early ages, mostly at the age of 12. So they didn't go to school and don't get opportunity to get formal schooling. So I see this kind of initiatives are very important, and these are fulfilling our key need, a basic need of a person, which help to get their rights. So and I know there is a very low literacy rate among transgender community, and such kind of endeavors of our government will really contribute to uplift our community and society.
All right, now Nayyab, there are a lot of social stigmas in societies across the world, including in Pakistan, as far as the transgender community is concerned. How important is it to highlight that the transgenders are also part of a normal society and they need to be given equal rights as the other segments of the society?
Umar, there was a criticism arisen when government took this initiative, a separate school for transgender community, and a group of civil society organization and people, they raised this question: why shouldn't they be part of our mainstream schooling educational system? So the only reason of this thing was a stigma and the transphobic behavior of our society that they have. And I think this is very important when society will know about, like, transgender community is not the children of lesser god, and they are equal. Like, they have, and we have a very good example, like Alisha, who is teaching at Multan school, and she is the
And of
one of
course,
the good
you
example,
talked about
having
Alisha,
MPhil degree.
Nayyab, you talked about Alisha. We've also been joined by Alisha Sherazi. She's not only a transgender activist, but is also a teacher at this school in Multan. Alisha, thank you very much to have joined us. Alisha, how do you feel now that an educational institution has opened specifically for the transgenders in Multan?
First of all, I would like to tell you that we have changed the history of Pakistan. We established a school for transgender community in Multan, and I'm part of it, feeling blessed that I was chosen for it. Being a teacher, I would like to tell you that I'm so happy. I want to tell you that I have tears in my eyes that the things that I have not in my life, now I can choose, and I can choose the right way for my community, for my students, and the things that I bear in my whole life. They will not. You can say that. Okay. Hello.
Yes, yes, of course I can hear you, Alisha. Go on.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
They will not stigmatize, they will not bullying, they will not discriminate in this school. We will give a good environment in our school, and we will teach them properly, regular students, and they will learn many and good things.
All right, Alisha, there's a lot of good things that I was reading through as far as this school in Multan is concerned. The government will be providing pick and drop service, uniforms, course books to the students. And in the next phase, what they say is that they're going to introduce a vocational training program for them, but that will include hairdressing, makeup, tailoring, and cooking courses. I mean, that is very important for a community like the transgender, or any community, in fact, so that they can stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah, absolutely right. I suggest them to the education ministry because I'm working as a consultant with ministry education department. So I suggest them that please make some also suggest them some technical courses like cooking, beautician, boutique, fashion designing. And because the community is interested in these courses, with formal education, they will start, inshallah, soon technical education also.
All right, now Alisha, 18 students have been inducted, if I'm not wrong, to date. How
20.
many more are interested to join this institution in Multan?
20 are enrolled and
All right.
many are coming. And I just received call from 3 students. They are interested to study in primary and matric. So I invite them tomorrow in Shalan school and I will enroll them.
All right, now what are the exact timings of this school, Alisha?
Basically, it has been started in evening classes like 4 to 6 p.m.
All right. And of course, I've heard that they've been divided into primary, secondary, and elementary, and higher secondary as well. Which is the
Yes, we
part where there are the maximum number of students?
Primary,
All
basic
right.
education.
All right. And how many teachers do you have, Alisha, as far as teaching these 18 or these 20 students is concerned?
If I say we have gender equality in our teacher list, we have 7 female teachers, we have 5 male teachers, and we have also 3 trans teachers, including me.
All right, Alisha, we wish you all the very best and congratulations on the opening of this school in Multan. We hope that more and more such education institutions will be opened with time, and that will give the right to the transgender community to not only get themselves the proper education but also stand on their own feet and continue, doing whatever they want to do or pursue a career in their life. Thank you very much, Alisha. Coming back to you, Nayyab. Nayyab, how important are the endeavors that the government is going through as far as the rights to the transgender community is concerned, and how have they been acknowledged internationally?
Umar, Pakistan is among 12 countries who legally recognize third gender on their identity cards. So this is the Transgender Rights Protection Act 2018 that we have. It is most progressive law in the world, and whenever we go, whenever we represent, and whenever we give the examples of transgender inclusion and empowerment, world always appreciate even in SIDA review, which is our international commitment. One of the government delegations member was transgender person, and this was the history in the world that a transgender woman was part of this kind of delegation. So internationally, international community and international world is really praising. And like for example, I can name some initiative which is Ehsas program, and the transgender people will get who are registered with National Registration Authority, they will get 2,000 rupees on monthly basis. There is a gender protection unit in Islamabad which specifically focus on transgender community, and also a protection center in Rawalpindi which is specifically focused on transgender protection. And there are some Kamyab Jawan example, like there is a one transgender people who is representing Pakistani transgender youth in that council, and also getting some loan to uplift and to start their small businesses. So this is very good endeavors, and I think the government is progressing, and government is really supporting and focusing on the marginalized sector of our country. So and this is really a very good move, and it seems like it's the empowerment of vulnerable sector is on its prior agenda of our government of Pakistan. And
All right.
as far as concern of transgender community, so benefits are not limited to bigger cities. So they are just going, like you can see the example of Multan. The first transgender school has been initiated in for area in South Punjab.
Exactly.
So obviously it will be replicated across the Pakistan with limited resources. We are growing, we are progressing, and you will see one day transgender people in the Pakistan will be empowered and get equal rights that other citizens of Pakistan have.
Thank you very much, Nayyab Ali, transgender activist, joining us and, of course, giving us different examples of how the government is endeavoring towards giving the transgender community in Pakistan their due rights. And, of course, the latest in that space is giving them an area and a place to get themselves the proper education at the primary, secondary, and higher secondary level in Multan. We wish you all the very best, of course, and we wish a very glorious future to the transgender community as well. Let's go to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns the 54th death anniversary of Muhtarma Fatima Jinnah, Māder-e Millat, mother of the nation. More in the following report.
Popularly known as Māder-e Millat or Mother of the Nation, Fatima Jinnah's name is an important one among the leaders of Pakistan movement. She is the most loved one for being the closest supporter of her brother and the founder of Pakistan and the leader of All Indian Muslim League, Quaid-e-Azam. But she is more than that from Fatima Jinnah. She joined the All India Muslim League and attended the annual session of the party. She, along with Begum Liaquat Ali Khan, made the greatest contribution in the realm of women's awakening and participation in national affairs. Quaid-e-Azam once said about her sister, "My sister was like a bright ray of light and hope whenever I came back home and meet her." After the independence of Pakistan, she co-founded the Pakistan Women's Association, which played an integral role in the settlement of women's migrants in the newly formed country. She returned to the political forefront to contest the 1964 elections at the age of 71, but was defeated unfortunately. Fatima Jinnah died in Karachi on 9 July 1967 at the age of 71. Fatima Jinnah is still remembered for her passionate support for civil rights and devoted struggle in Pakistan movement. She was laid to rest next to her brother at Mazar-e-Qaid.
And our final segment, ladies and gentlemen, is about the fourth wave of COVID-19 that apparently is looming all over the world, including in Pakistan. Our Prime Minister Imran Khan said this a few days back. And now in a tweet, also Asad Omar has talked about this. We'll be talking about more in the following shows. Of course, this is the last show. Have a great weekend and we'll see you back on Monday. Allah Hafiz.